And to OutKick the show, I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Welcome in, as I said, wherever you may be across this great country or this great world. We have got a lot to get to, tons of stories to dive into. I'm going to break down the Anthony Davis trade drama. What's going on with the Pelicans? What's going on with the situation associated with the Laker pursuit of Anthony Davis? I find this to be a fascinating and instructive lesson in the importance of having both good advisors and also intelligent forward thinking as opposed to responding right now, okay? I think that's important. Virginia, we got political drama like crazy. The governor either was in blackface and a KKK robe or he was not. The lieutenant governor either sexually assaulted a woman or he did not. This is one of the craziest things I have seen in a very long time, the way this story's playing out. I'm going to break it down for you. John Wall, a.k.a. John Fall, evidently fell down a staircase at his home or something and is now torn his ACL and is not going to be able to continue for the next 12 months now that he has a torn Achilles. This is a crazy-ass story. I can't believe it. Konzo Martin, back at Tennessee, does the media owe an apology to Tennessee fans, given how good of shape the basketball program is in right now? There is a meth bear on the loose in Tennessee, or at least it was a meth bear. A mountain lion was strangled to death by a jogger after the mountain lion cowardly attacked it from behind, and the State of the Union is tonight. What do we expect to see? We start with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, okay, this to me is an intriguing question. Anthony Davis, to me, is behaving like a guy who doesn't realize how good he is at what he does. Let me explain. When you are young, let's say 15 or 16 years old, you idolize people who are where you hope you are one day going to be. It is not a surprise that Anthony Davis would idolize LeBron James or find it incredibly flattering that LeBron James would want to eat dinner with him, that he would suggest he be repped by the same agent as him, that they need to get the band together and play a basketball game. Makes a lot of sense. For LeBron James, not for Anthony Davis. I can't believe no one else is analyzing the thought process here, but let me take you through what someone who is intelligently advising Anthony Davis should do. And let's start with this, okay? Let's start with this angle. LeBron James does what is best for LeBron James. When he left Cleveland the first time, he waited until he was a free agent and he bailed, leaving the Cavaliers high and dry with not even notice in advance of where he was headed. The same thing happened in Miami when he bailed on the Heat and went back to Cleveland. He left as an unrestricted free agent, and when he left the Cavs high and dry for a third time, do you know what LeBron James did? He waited until he was an unrestricted free agent, surveyed the entire marketplace, and made a strategic decision that was smart. What LeBron James never did, and I'm going to have to block this guy because he's not very smart and he's obsessively in here. What LeBron James never did was lose all of his trade leverage by demanding a trade before his contract ran out. I know when you are young, a year seems like a very long time, right? But in reality, all Anthony Davis has to do, because there's no franchise tag in the NBA, is play out the rest of this year, around 30 games, and then he plays for an entire another year, and then he can go anywhere in the NBA, and this is important. His signing with a team doesn't then guarantee that the team he is signing with has handicapped itself through its pursuit of him. If you are Anthony Davis and you want to go to the Lakers and you want to move to Los Angeles and you want to play there, I completely understand that desire. LA is a fantastic city. The Lakers are an incredible brand. LeBron James has been great at maximizing his ability to win games in the NBA. Here's the problem. In order to go there, before your contract is up with the New Orleans Pelicans, you are demanding that the team give a ton of assets for you to go there. It shouldn't be that way at all. You should want to go join a team that has as many assets as possible so you can advance as far as you possibly can. I think what's likely to happen here and why Anthony Davis needs sophisticated and better representation is LeBron James is going to turn 35 next year. LeBron is going to be done in a couple of years. Anthony Davis is 25 years old. You are mortgaging the future of the franchise you were going to sign with so that LeBron James has a better chance to win a championship in the short term. LeBron is Jedi mind tricking you through his representation to go to the Lakers right now and make LeBron better. But if you look at everything LeBron has left behind, he has frequently left the building burning when he walked out. Look at the Cavs. Kyrie Irving was smart enough to see this. He saw that they were sabotaging the future of the Cavs to win right now. And Kyrie Irving said, I want out, and then I want to be able to survey the free agent landscape as an unrestricted free agent and make the best decision for me. Tristan Thompson got overpaid. Kevin Love probably got overpaid. Certainly J.R. Smith got overpaid. The Cavs tried to win and do everything LeBron James told them to do, and in the process, they mortgaged their future in exchange to make King James happy in the meantime, right? When you think about it, LeBron is about winning right now. If that was the case throughout his entire career, do you really believe a 35-year-old LeBron James is not Jedi mind tricking Anthony Davis into demanding this trade? Honestly, we've got a clear conflict because Rich Paul is advising both of these guys, and he shouldn't be able to advise both of these guys because their interests are not mutually allied. Anthony Davis is going to be good in the NBA for another decade. In a decade, LeBron James is going to be 45 years old. He will be long time out of the league. When you look towards the future, it's one thing to be flattered by the interest of people who are more successful than you have been. I don't begrudge Anthony Davis being flattered that the guy he looked up to when he was 16 or 17 or 15 or 18 years old considers him now to be an equal. But Anthony Davis, you need to think about the future of your career, not the future of LeBron James's career. This was stupid to request a trade. It was stupid to say that you're not going to re-up with the Pelicans. What Anthony Davis should have done, if he is following sophisticated examples from others before him, was say he's not sure what he's going to do and wait to sign his Supermax contract and then decide he's going to go tour all these other places like Paul George did, like Kyrie Irving did, like LeBron James has done 3 different times. The way that he's behaved, I think, is unsophisticated, uneducated, and frankly, a decision not befitting someone who is a multi-million-dollar executive. And that's the way you have to think about yourself if you are a big-time basketball player because of the amount of money you are going to make. Your business is you, as Jay-Z basically said in his famous businessman quote. Okay? This is what I think is going on. I think LeBron James went to LA because he wants to be a media mogul. I think he rapidly realized once he got to LA, this is not a team I can win a championship with. I think he then told Rich Paul, who can we get who will come here that will make us better? And I think Rich Paul has been giving bad advice to Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis should say, wait a minute, I understand that you're LeBron's agent. I need my own guy. Because the advice that you give to LeBron is different than the advice you should be giving to me. You have to, in my opinion, think long-term if you are Anthony Davis. The long-range play here that makes complete sense is to play out the length of your contract. You'll still only be 26 years old, and then you can go on a free agent tour and figure out who's going to pay you hundreds of millions of dollars. This is an unbelievable move. This is where you need sophisticated representation to sit you down and say, hey, knucklehead, you got 30 games left this year. Next year, you got 82 games to play. You're making millions of dollars. New Orleans is not that way. Not that bad of a place to live. Trust me. There's nowhere in the country I wouldn't live for a $100 million contract. I'm just telling you all that right now. This would be a smart decision. If you go to the Lakers, you're forcing them to trade away their future, to mortgage their future. Guess who's not going to be there when the future comes undone? LeBron James. LeBron James is on the back 9 of his career, probably the back 3 or 4 holes of his career. Anthony Davis hasn't even gotten to the turn yet, to use a golf metaphor. As a result, Anthony Davis should make the same decision that LeBron James made. He is behaving in a way that is not very intelligent. Okay? I got to dive into more of the stories now. Here's a reason why sometimes signing a Supermax deal isn't an awful decision. The teams aren't protected very much in the Supermax. The players are. John Wall just tore his Achilles tendon in a fall at his house. He's been incredibly injured the past several years. Here is the breakdown. John Wall's contract, $38 million next year, $41 million the year after that, $44 million the year after that, $47 million the year after that, all guaranteed for the next 4 years, for a total of $170 million. I want you to think about that for a minute. $170 million guaranteed. The players are not being treated unfairly in the existing NBA stratosphere. I know it might suck to not win a championship, but guess what? You pay me $170 million for the next 4 years, and I will never, ever complain about whatever I have to do in the professional sports arena. Okay? That is why sometimes taking the guaranteed money is not a bad deal, because you never know what might happen. Look, Anthony Davis right now looks like he's going to be great for the next decade. But what if he tore his Achilles at the end of this year? And then what if he had a horrendous injury that didn't immediately get healed, like Alex Smith? I think it's really hard to turn down Supermax guaranteed money, the likes of which you will never be able to make, probably ever again, in that real time, and take the risk of playing without that Supermax deal. Some of you are really dumb. You're like, I'd rather be happy. Okay, I understand. If where you live, I got to tell you this right now. Let me pause for a second, give you a life lesson. If where you live determines whether or not you are happy, that is a your fault problem. All right? I'm big on happy, right? But ultimately, being happy is an internal decision. If you think if you had the right boyfriend or girlfriend, you're going to be happy, you're wrong. If you think if you're going to have the right car, you're going to be happy, you're wrong. If you think, oh, if I had the right house, I would be happy, you're wrong. If you think, oh, if I lived in that city instead of this city, I would be happy, you are wrong. Ultimately, happiness is internal, not external. Much of the issue in the world today comes from people who believe that they can become happy by obtaining external things. I've got money now. It's better to have money than not have money. But listen to me when I tell you this. There is never a point in my life where I have not been happy. That's because I control the way that I feel. All right? There have been times that I've worked more. There have been times that I worked less. There have been times that I didn't like what I was doing that much. But ultimately, using external validation to determine whether or not you are happy in your life is a failure, because you will never, ever be happy. And that goes for whether it's about your partner, whether it's about your house, whether it's about your car, whether it's about your job. Pursue things that you find to be fulfilling, but don't assume that happiness is an external reality. It is almost entirely internal. So if you are Anthony Davis, I don't want to get all psychoanalytical on you, but if you are Anthony Davis and you are unhappy in New Orleans, then suddenly doing the same job in Los Angeles is not going to make you happy. Now, if your goal is to win, and that was why I analyzed the winning aspect of his decision-making, if your goal is to win at a high level in your profession, I do not believe that he is likely to win at a high level in his profession with the Lakers if they have to trade away their future to hire him because, hello, he is the future. LeBron James for the Lakers is the past by and large. You have to live 5 years in the future if you want to be incredibly successful. All right? If you want to be incredibly successful in life, you don't live in the year you're in right now. You make decisions based on where you're going to be in 5 years. Live in the future. Make decisions based on where people are going to be, not where they are right now. To put it into sports parlance, skate where, as Wayne Gretzky said, skate where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is, right? Most people can't do that. If you can see around the corner, then you will have tremendous success no matter what you do for a living. But right now, I would say, take the money. Take the money. And then, if you don't want to take the money, wait for free agency completely and go away and analyze all of your options at that point in time. All right, that's my life lesson. Let's talk about this Virginia political situation. All right, this Virginia political situation to me is wild. All right, this guy, the governor, Northam, I think is his name, right? Northam, I'm not even sure exactly how you pronounce his name. And I got to tell you, this guy was in 1984 in a photo, allegedly, this is his first story, on his yearbook page in medical school. On his yearbook page in medical school, he's either wearing a KKK, like a hood, or he is all dressed up in minstrel show blackface. All right? This is 1984. I was born in 1984. I think at the age of 5, I would have known this was an offensive thing to do, all right? And that it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to dress up in a KKK garb in your medical school yearbook photo or to dress up in blackface next to a guy in KKK garb. Both of them, not a smart decision, right? Even in 1984, this was not a smart decision. The fact that this never comes out in his entire political career is one of the most unbelievable things I have ever heard of in the history of politics. How did this guy think that he could run for political office and that he could get elected governor of a large state and this thing would never come out? I can't even begin to imagine how this thing was not out there. Reports are that this story didn't come out until one of his old medical school classmates got upset because he came out so aggressively in favor of abortion. My mind is blown by this entire story. So he refuses to resign. And let me take a step back and say this right now. I do think, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, that people are capable of changing and that lots of people have done dumb things when they're 25 and that if they take ownership of them, that shouldn't follow you around for the rest of your life, right? This is the reason why I believe that felons should be given back their voting rights. This is the reason why I don't believe that we should put nonviolent people in jail for long periods of time. I am a very forgiving person, regardless of your race, religion, creed, ethnicity, all of those things. Okay? I don't believe it's helpful to this country to decide that what somebody did at 25 years old permanently disqualifies them from ever belonging or running for or being involved in a high level in American political life. Period. All right? That goes for any and everything. If Ray Caruth, let me say this, if Ray Caruth was capable of being elected by the people of North Carolina to represent them, and he ran in a political campaign and he won, that's the voters' decisions, right? If O.J. Simpson out in Nevada suddenly decided to run for the Senate and he got elected, that's on the people of Nevada. I wouldn't vote for either one of those guys, but I certainly respect their ability to enter into American public life. I think the politics of personal destruction, regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, is absurd. You should not be held accountable in this perpetual gotcha universe for what you did when you were 20 or 25 or 15 or even 30 if you did something wrong and you go out to the public and you apologize for it. Having said that, how did this not come out? How did this stay buried for nearly 40 years and then suddenly it shows up? I'm in disbelief over this aspect of the story. And so the governor refuses to resign. Initially, he apologizes for his role in the photo. Then he says, having looked at the photo, I don't think it's me in the photo. And I don't know. We don't know whether he's the guy in the hood or the guy next to the guy in the hood in the blackface. So this whole thing is crazy. It's a major story. This guy's a Democrat, by the way, to the extent it matters, all over the state of Virginia. All right? I actually like the precedent of someone apologizing for their actions and refusing to resign because I think that undercuts the power of gotcha journalism. And I don't think gotcha journalism is helpful to the overall country, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, right? So, on top of that, all right, as if that were not crazy enough, the guy who would step in the event he resigns, and everybody out there is like, oh, he's got to immediately resign. He can't stay here anymore. And here's what happens next. It turns out the lieutenant governor was being investigated for a sexual assault that allegedly happened at the 2004 Democratic Convention, which I think took place in Boston. So now you've got a situation where the governor might have to resign for blackface or for wearing a KKK costume, and he's a white guy, and then the black guy who would replace him immediately gets outed for alleged sexual assault. Now, let me go into this story. The black guy who would replace him, the lieutenant governor, says, well, that's a lie. I didn't do it. Well, here's my big thing. I told you was going to happen regardless of your politics. In a Me Too era, you can't just believe every woman who alleges that she has been sexually assaulted, because there's not any corroborating evidence that this actually took place either. He says it was consensual. But we basically got a more extensive version of Brett Kavanaugh, right? And what did I say during the Kavanaugh case? I said this was nonpartisan. This was not political. I said if someone alleges that you have done something improper and there is zero corroborating evidence of it, then I don't believe that you should be considered to be guilty of that. But all the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee lined up and said, you have to believe every woman. And now this woman has hired the same law firm to represent her as Christine Ford, the person who accused Brett Kavanaugh. I am in the same position now, which is going to be interesting to see how many people are actually in the same boat as me. I defend the lieutenant governor's right to say this isn't true. There's no evidence it happened. And I believe absent corroborating evidence of wrongdoing, he should be able to stay in office. Now, for those of you who regularly watch this program or listen to my show, I want you to find very many people who establish the same precedent. I'm very big on making sure that my opinions fit the facts and don't fit whatever political persuasion someone involved with the facts might be. I think that facts matter. So in this situation, based on everything that I have heard, I think the lieutenant governor should be able to keep his job. I think an allegation without corroborating evidence is not a disqualifying event, but there are going to be a lot of people out there who are going to say, I want the same standard from the Democrats to be applied to this lieutenant governor as was applied to Brett Kavanaugh. And that standard, which I think was wrong by the Senate Judiciary Committee, was an allegation by a woman has to be believed because some men in the past have committed sexual assault and gotten away with it. I don't believe at all that that should be the precedent that we apply here. I think the lieutenant governor, who's a black guy, should be treated the same way as Brett Kavanaugh, who was a white guy. I treat him the exact same. I think an allegation without corroboration is not sufficient to take away somebody from public life in America today. And so I am consistent in these cases. And I told you I would be as I analyzed the Brett Kavanaugh case, but I want you to watch. Will these Democratic senators, will they be consistent or will they refuse? Cory Booker's already said, I have not been willing to take any statement at all. He won't stand up at all. He was Spartacus standing up to Brett Kavanaugh, demanding that Kavanaugh never be allowed onto the Supreme Court. Now the same kind of allegation, except more serious, to be honest, because there was, this is an adult allegation and it is an actual sexual assault, as opposed to just like a teenage groping with no corroborated evidence. Actually more severe of an allegation, and Cory Booker's not applying the same standard here. It's important to hold people accountable in their public statements. It's also important to hold them to be consistent. And I try to be consistent, and that's why I worry about the precedent I set, okay? Finally, a couple of other things. Cuonzo Martin back to Tennessee. It's an important lesson, I think, in general out there. Don't assume everything is race-based. It's one of my big arguments that I make today. Everybody immediately wants to make, because we're in a tribal era, everything is immediately race-based. I have watched Tennessee basketball for my entire life. Cuonzo Martin was not a good basketball coach relative to how good of a basketball coach Bruce Pearl was. The fact that Tennessee fans wanted Bruce Pearl back in Knoxville has been immediately justified by what Bruce Pearl has done at Auburn and by the success he has had since he returned to coaching. Cuonzo Martin has gone to Cal, and now he's at Mizzou, and he still hasn't won an NCAA tournament game. That's because Cuonzo Martin is just an okay coach. I like him. I've met him several times. I think he's a good dude. I think Tennessee fans' distrust of Cuonzo Martin as a basketball coach had nothing to do with his race and everything to do with his performance. And similarly, Tennessee fans' embrace of Bruce Pearl, who, by the way, is Jewish, had nothing to do with his religion and everything to do with the effervescent way in which his team played basketball. And now Tennessee fans and their love affair of Rick Barnes has nothing to do with what his race or his gender or his ethnicity is, and has everything to do with the fact that he's got Tennessee #1 in the nation. But I think this is a fascinating question. I think it's a really fascinating question. Will anyone in the national media actually make the decision to apologize to Tennessee basketball fans on this occasion, with Cuonzo Martin bringing Missouri into Knoxville? I believe it's the first time he's come back to Tennessee. I hope he gets a good welcome. I hope everybody stands up and cheers him. But the truth of the matter is this. Cuonzo Martin is at best an average basketball coach. Calling an average basketball coach an average basketball coach and wanting him to be replaced by a superior coach is, frankly, not remotely racist. All right? That is the truth, period. Dive into it, look at it, and ask yourself why everybody immediately made this a racial issue. Finally, Tennessee man. They initially thought that he was eaten by a bear. It turns out that instead of being eaten by a bear, he actually died in the Great Smoky Mountains of meth and then was eaten by a bear. Meaning that for a short period of time, potentially in the Great Smoky Mountains, there was a meth bear loose, eating a dead meth guy, getting that meth in the bloodstream. That bear was unbeatable by any bear that has ever lived in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains. That was an apex predator bear. That was a bear on a meth-fueled rampage. I would not have wanted to get in front of that bear. Also, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow on the radio show, we had a man strangle a mountain lion to death. He was jogging. The cowardly mountain lion attacked him from behind. He grabbed that mountain lion and suffocated it to death. This is a big win in the Animal Thunderdome for mankind. Mountain lion comes after you. Jogger grabs the mountain lion and chokes the mountain lion to death. That is the ultimate in the DBAP lifestyle. If you're out for a jog and a mountain lion attacks you, you don't run and hide. You choke the mountain lion to death and then throw its carcass to the side and go get yourself checked out. All right? This, by the way, I happen to look over here, and I'm going to block a loser. He said, why do you pause so much on this show? Maybe it's because I talk for 30 straight minutes on 8 different topics with this as my notation. This is yesterday's show, and this is today's show. How many people in America do you think can talk for 30 minutes every day, in addition to 3 hours on the radio, and this is their entire notation? This is every bit of my notation. That's it. Big time. That's it. That is the entire bit of performance that I bring to bear here. So pausing occasionally to capture my thoughts and to capture my cadence, while also occasionally reading the comments, is the way that I do this show. There may not be another man in sports media who can even pull this off, who has the intellectual deftness, the heavyweight of IQs to make a play like this and be able to break all this down. Got to tell you, I'm not sure anybody else can do it. State of the Union is tonight. If it's really wild, I'll do an immediate reaction show. Set your DVRs. I'll be watching tonight. I'll also be on television for another hour of media at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, and 1:30 Pacific. My name is Clay Travis. This has been OutKick the show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. This is OutKick the show. Kisses to all of you. I'll see you tomorrow or maybe tonight after the State of the Union. See you guys. Love you. Bye. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.